Lesson 10.2b, surface area of prisms. So we're talking about, we're going to start with rectangular prisms. If you want the total surface area of a prism, you would take all of the individual areas, every side, every face, and find those areas and add them all together. So if you look at this rectangular prism, it's similar to looking like the room that we're sitting in. All right, so just imagine that this is the room we're sitting in, where the 4 and the 3 are along the floor. So it's 4 meters by 3 meters. And then up the wall is 2 meters tall. Okay, you have identical faces for the most part. They've taken the shape and flattened it out. And we are actually going to work on nets. And nets for surface area are definitely going to be in your iLearn test. And that's why we're going to practice doing nets here in just a few minutes. All of you are going to practice some. But if I take that shape, or imagine it as a cardboard box, and opening it up and flattening it out, notice that the bottom matches the top. The bottom and the top should be identical. Then we have a side and a side. And then, of course, the front and the back of the room would be identical. So they kind of come in pairs. So the top and the bottom are 4 by 3s. So they multiply 4 by 3, but then they take it times 2 because there's 2 of them. So the top and the bottom would be total area of 24. Then they do the front and the back. Well, the front and the back is 4 by 2. You see how it's 4 by 2 right there. It matches this 4 by 2. So there's 2 of them. 4 by 2 is 8, but there's 2 of them, so there's 16. Then the 2 side walls. The side walls go 2 by 3. 2 by 3 and 2 of those, so that's 12. The total surface area would be 24 plus 16 plus 12. So 52. 52, and you use the units, so meters squared. 52 meters squared. Now they also have a surface area formula that you can use. I personally think that's easier than drawing that whole net out and figuring it out, but I'm not the one that makes the decisions on what you have to do for iLearn. So you know, in a rectangular prism you have a length, a width, and a height, right? And every 2 equal sides use 2 of those dimensions. So the length and the width, that would represent the top and the bottom. The length and the height would represent the front and the back. And the 3 and the 2, that represents the 2 sides. So they use this formula, 2 times length times width, plus 2 times length times height, plus 2 times width times height. And they plug in the length, the width, and the height. Notice, if you've got a 4, 3, and a 2, do you see how you use the 4, 3 together once, the 4, 2 together once, and the 3, 2 together once? So that is using the formula 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. Or you can look at the net and pair up top and bottom, front and back, left and right. So that's finding the total surface area of a prism. Now let's look at something else I've got here for you. Oh, I went the wrong way. Hold on. Extra notes. So they're talking about using, for sure, a net to find surface area. A net is a pattern that can be folded to make a solid. So that's what they're trying to get at. That they've got this shape And if you took that shape on paper and folded it together, you would get this prism or three-dimensional figure. A net for a solid shows the shapes or its faces. The surface area of a three-dimensional figure is the sum of the areas of its faces. You can use an area formula to help you find the surface area of the figure. So it's kind of crazy, but that first example is exactly that same shape that we had, a 4 by 3 by 2. Because there's the bottom, you see that? 4 by 3. Which face does E match up with? F. Okay, E and F are the top and bottom. So if I looked at C, C is 3 this way, and it's going to be 2 this way. So C matches which other face? D. And then A, it matches 4 this way and 2 this way. A matches which other side? B. So you would match which sides. They multiplied them all together. They found the area of each of those, doubled them. Do you see that? 2 8s, 2 6s, 2 12s. Get the area 52 inches squared. This one looks a little different. They say it's a net for a triangular prism. Do you see that? Can you imagine folding E and C up together, folding A and B up and enclosing it, and it would be a triangular prism? Can you picture that? If you folded this up on C and D, folded the A and B up where it would enclose, that would be a triangular prism. So they're saying on this that you have different faces. A and B are exactly the same. A and B are exactly the same, but the C, D, and E would each be a little different because there's triangles, and the triangles aren't this. I mean, there's a 6, a 10, and an 8. Now, if you had more of an equilateral type triangle, you wouldn't have as many different rectangles for this. But you have that shape. It's drawn, flattened out. You find the area of each one of these. So remember, for a rectangle, it's length times width. For a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. They found the area of each of those shapes and then added it all together. So this one, like I said, the 2 triangles were 24 each. They counted that double, but the rectangles were all different for a total of 528 square inches. All right, so if I go back, let me go back to, we'll do one. So let's look at this one. So number 1, let's do it like this. Instead of actually drawing the net out, we're going to do this. We're going to do top and bottom. Let's do that. The top and bottom. What are the dimensions of the top and bottom of that prism? Mason? 3 by 7. So the top and bottom, there are 2 times 3 times 7. Because we're talking about this down here. And it's dashed. Okay, that's the top and bottom. All right, let's talk about, how about the front and back? The front and back would be this. What is it? What is it? 3 by 3. So there's 2 that are 3 by 3. Okay, now let's do the sides. Oops, I want to change the color. We're going to do the sides. So we're talking about, what are the dimensions of those sides? 7 and 3 again. So there is a repeat. So 2 times 3 times 7. So let's find these areas. 2 times 3 times 7, what is that? 42. 2 times 3 times 3, what is that? 18. 2 times 3 times 7, 42. Okay, if I add all that up, anybody got that? So our total surface area will be, what is it? 102, and we're going to say centimeters squared. That is square units, because we're back to area. We're not cubing it because it's not volume, but centimeters squared. All right, are there any questions about that part?